She's passionate about telling stories of amazing women who are rocking the world and empowering women to live, love, and thrive. Here's your host, Katherine Gray.
Hi, welcome to Live, Love, Thrive Women's Empowerment Hour, brought to you by 360karma.com. We hope you're joining our Women's Empowerment conversation on Facebook and also following us on Twitter and Instagram at My360Karma. You know, every week I have incredible women on. Today we have a trailblazer in the television industry. She was the former VP of programming for Oprah, for her own network, and now has her own company doing strategies. She's an amazing television producer. Please give a warm welcome to Endyia Kinney-Sterns.
Oh,
Hi.
Thank you for having me, Katherine.
I'm so happy to have you. You're just a burst of white light.
Oh, thank you. Can you put that in writing? So
That should be on your card.
I should put on my card, in my bio.
In your bio. That's it, girl. Well, you know, I'm sure, you know, people are... who doesn't want to meet Oprah? So I'm sure that everybody would love to know your journey to working at OWN and meeting Miss O. And I think that woman has probably singularly impacted more women and people in the world than any single person other than maybe Mother Teresa and the Dalai Lama, right?
No, absolutely.
Yeah. And I definitely want to hear about your journey to having that opportunity to work with her and all the incredible projects you've done on various networks, from OWN to VH1 to HGTV and others.
Well,
But first, I think it's always interesting to know, what are people's backgrounds? How did they really start their journey? And you shared with me that as a child, at 2 years old, your dad had passed away. And I always think these challenges in our life impact who we are and the path we take. Now, how do you feel about having lost your dad at a young age? How did that impact your trajectory in your life?
It's so interesting. In retrospect, a great deal, because at the age of 2, he passed away due to a car accident. My mother was a widow at 28.
Oh my gosh.
And I didn't realize he was gone until around I was 4 years old, because
you told
people
me
would
that.
say, oh, you'll find him in heaven. He's in heaven. You'll see him again.
Yeah, and at 2 years old, you're like, what does that mean?
Can we go back and forth to heaven? Is that what we can do? Let's go. When am I going to see him? And it wasn't until I was about 4 that I realized, wow, heaven is permanent. That's not a place you can come back from.
Yeah.
And so through prayer and just love from my mom, I sort of came out of this fear of, oh my gosh, if he left, my mom's going to leave. It was sort of like post-traumatic stress disorder I had for a period of time.
And you know why I talk about this? Because there are probably so many listeners that have the same story, where they lost a parent at a young age. And so it's always, I think, inspiring to hear,
they're not the only
what
ones.
they did, that they're not the only ones, and what did they do with that?
Absolutely.
Because it was challenging. And so what did they take from that they use for the greater good, like you have?
Well, when that happened, it was fear, just fear that gripped me, and I had never really, I even still feel it to this day, or remember the feeling, because it was so visceral and deep, of the loss of someone so close to you, and it's so finite and so quick.
Yes.
And like I said, through prayer and love and support from my mother, I came out of that to the point to where she says, okay, what do you want to do when you grow up? What do you want to be? Let's take everything God's given you, whatever passions, whatever dreams you have, and let's just go for it.
Right, no holds barred.
No holds barred, let's go for it. Because she really wanted me to understand fearlessness, being confident, knowing that obviously life is too short to worry about tomorrow.
Yes.
Let's focus on today. And I got that at a very young age, and I truly believe it is because of the loss of my dad and her seeing the results of that and being so present, thank God for her, in wanting me to get out of that and live my life.
Right.
At 4.
A lot of girls are not brought up in a culture to cultivate their confidence.
Right.
And confidence is one of the biggest components of women living their highest self, don't you think?
Absolutely.
And I know for me, with what I'm doing in 360 Karma, I'm trying to really instill confidence in women. And how do we do that? You seem like you'd be a great teacher of that. How do we propel that confidence you know, to just do whatever it is our dream is that we're meant to do.
You know what? A lot of times when I'm speaking to women or to anyone, I want to remind them that them being here is not by accident.
Right.
And I think that's the key. It's knowing that there is a purpose and a plan
Exactly.
and a destiny for me.
Yes.
God has blessed me with gifts and talents, of thoughts, of creativity, of whatever it is. If I could just take that, harness that, and use that, not just for myself, but for others,
Right.
that is a built-in confidence, because whatever I have, I know I didn't give it to me.
Right.
So I am confident in knowing that I have everything that I need to do what it is that I've been purposed to do.
Right. You know, some people think confidence could be arrogance. And so what you're saying is so true, is that that's the last thing
That's
it
the
is.
last thing it is,
It's
right?
Right. It's all about being here to do your greater purpose and being fearless to ask for whatever you need,
Yep.
a connection, funding, whatever you need, because you're not doing it for you.
Exactly.
You're doing it for the greater good of the purpose that you were planted here
That
for.
is it. And you know, you
Yeah.
said the key word again is it's not just for you. You get to benefit from it, right?
And it's so cool to get to be the vessel of something. Like all the time I say, oh, I'm so grateful that I get to do this show, meet these wonderful women, do my She Angels that helps women get funded. Like I am thrilled to be the vessel of that idea. But I don't take credit for it. I just know I'm here to serve and make it happen. And I get such pleasure in that.
That is the
And,
key.
Yeah.
And it's interesting too, because that confidence fuels the passion and the drive that you need. Because
Yes.
when it is for something bigger than yourself,
Yes.
you're unstoppable.
Yes.
You know, like, okay, well, I gotta, like, to your point,
Yes.
your goal is to empower, to encourage women,
Yes.
to think beyond their means, to think beyond what they see,
Right.
to dream big,
And
to give them resources to do that, right?
Right.
So with that, no matter what,
Yeah.
that's what drives you.
Yes.
So when trouble comes, when you hit a roadblock, you don't just buckle, because it's bigger than you,
Right.
you know? And
Right.
so I
It's not
think
about you.
it's not about you.
Right.
And so
You
that's
seem like
what's so
you've lived your
exciting.
whole life like that.
No.
Right? Well, not all. I mean, I know you told me at one point you had to recheck in
I
and say,
did.
I'm not about the things. I'm not about the prestige.
Exactly.
I mean, because you are a very, you know, you've won a lot of awards. I mean, you were voted the top female executive in Hollywood for Essence magazine. That's huge. Yes. So I could see how, you know, every now and then we have to do a check
have
and
to
go,
check, yeah.
you know, that we know we deserve the award, but or the things or the house or the fame or whatever. But what at the core of it? Why are we here?
That's
right?
it. That's it. That's it. I always keep in front of me, again, what my mom says is use all your gifts to glorify God who gave them to you and to bless others, because that is true success.
Yes.
And what's so amazing about identifying your gifts is you can dream beyond just one lane. Like there's so many things that you can do with one gift.
Yes.
Or two gifts.
Right.
There's so many things that you can think about doing. I think what happens to us a lot of times is maybe we're a good singer, maybe we're a good organizer, and we look to the person who's at the top of their game doing it, and we're like, I want that.
Right.
Which it's okay to have sort of like a mark or like something that helps to push you.
Right.
But don't pigeonhole yourself into someone else's reality.
Right. Right.
Because
be
then
your own.
Be your own.
Right.
Think outside of the box.
So now let's back up and talk about your amazing journey. So first of all, I know you've just written a book.
Yes.
About your journey.
Yes.
And it is called Why Me? I love that title. Why me?
Why me?
Yeah. Because you feel so fortunate.
Right. Or
Yeah.
no, why me
Oh.
isn't why is this happening to me?
Oh, okay.
It's double entendre. Like,
oh, double entendre. Yeah, I like that.
It's hitting on, because what I find is a lot of women, a lot of people, period, they come across their lives where things could be going great. And it's like, oh my gosh, this is amazing. And then adversity happens.
Right.
Something happens that shakes you to your core.
Yeah.
And for whatever reason, we all, even if we don't verbalize it, we think it, we say it, why me?
Right.
And it's like, but why not you? Because guess what? Everybody
Yes.
experiences
Right.
it.
And that's
everyone.
That's the whole thing. I think the reason that we have the human experience is to, have these challenges that bring out what it is we're meant to be doing here on the planet. I can't tell you how many people have sat here, and I've come to find out that the reason that they're on the planet and the reason they've had obstacles, whether they're physical, financial, whatever, it's because it leads to their life's purpose, right?
Absolutely.
And so if they didn't have that adversity to overcome, they wouldn't even, be in touch with what their life purpose is. And so
Absolutely.
that's the incredible part.
That is the key.
Yeah.
That is the key that unlocks it all.
Right.
It really does, because without adversity, there's no way you can even know what you're really made of or what you're built of. And that's what the book talks about. There's like three main questions that I sort of unfold in the book, that when adversity really knocked me, off my, on my butt.
Right.
Was,
Which happens, I think, to everybody. I
It
mean,
has
as
to.
human beings.
It has to.
We all get knocked off our axle
Absolutely.
sometimes, right?
Right. So the first one was, what drives you? What's driving you?
Yes.
Why are you where you are?
Right.
What drove you to where you are?
Right. And even when we get off track, just to figure out how do we get back centered, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And then what's your intention?
Right.
Like, what's the intent behind the why you are where you are?
Right. So after you felt like you had achieved a lot of fame, like you started off as in front of the camera as an actor, and then made your way behind the camera, right, as a producer.
Yep.
And had your reasons for that journey, right? I don't know if you want to share that.
Sure.
Yeah.
In the Why Me book, what got me there was sort of this crazy thing called life where I lost it all. Prior to that,
And I appreciate you sharing that. A lot of people won't be vulnerable and share that.
Right.
But the thing is, so many people have been in those shoes that it's good for people to hear, oh, she too lost it all and started over, and look at her now.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So in front of the camera was great. And as you get older,
And
for
you were on
me-
TV shows.
Right, I was on TV shows. I was, again, going back to my mom saying, okay, what do you want to do? What's your dream?
Yeah.
I said, I want to be on TV. She's like, okay, well, we're in Fort Worth, Texas. I don't know what we're going to do with that. I'm going to put you up on this stage at this theater, this local theater. I hear that different people come through, celebrities, people, maybe someone will see you and want you.
Yeah.
And I'm like, okay, so I do that. They hire me to be on in summer stock on staff as an actor for their shows.
How fun.
And by the time I'm 6 years old, an agent sees me, signs me, I come out to LA.
Oh my gosh.
And I am auditioning. And again, that's what I mean, like being fearless and being confident and just going with it. You
and
know?
it sounds like from the get-go you had this vision. Like,
Yeah,
I'm going to be on TV.
This is what I want.
Yeah.
Let's go for it. You know,
Yeah.
I wanted to be a Black Shirley Temple, and that was my dream. So here I am, and I'm on commercials and TV shows and films. And as I get older, I realize that it's a lot less about your gifts and talents and more about a look, or more about like, are you tall enough? Is your hair short enough?
Right.
Long enough? Are you skinny enough?
Yes.
And that was really troublesome for me, because at the time, I mean, I don't know how much it's changed even now.
Right.
There weren't a lot of opportunities.
Right.
For
And even less
African-American
for women. And still to this day, according to the
Right.
Gina Davis Institute research, less women are hired for acting positions. And like, if you take a look at any given set, it's like 3 men to every 1 or 2 women.
Yeah,
and that disparity
very
is something that
disproportionate.
they're working on that I think people weren't even aware of.
Yeah. Well, I mean,
But
and
you're aware
imagine
of it
being-
like subconsciously, but
Right.
not consciously.
Well,
Yeah.
imagine being an African American woman
Yeah.
where, the parts are
Far and in between.
far and in
Yeah.
between.
Yeah.
And then there's hundreds of you,
Yes.
thousands of you,
Yeah, right.
who are vying for the one part.
Yes.
And I said, okay, clearly this is crazy. Like, I'm not,
But look at what a blessing it was that
well,
you
that's
switched.
the thing. I'm like, there's no way that this
Yeah.
is going to work. So for me, I said, you know what? I want to go behind the camera.
And
To
like you
answer your
said, you might
question.
have more than one talent, or the same talent that you use in a different capacity.
Right.
Right?
Exactly. So I said, you
Yeah.
know what? I know how to act. What I don't know is the business behind it.
Yeah.
I said, I want to be able to affect change. I want to be able to, again, be of service. Like,
Yeah.
if someone else, if I'm in this position, someone else is feeling the same thing.
Right.
How do I then equip myself to help?
So how did you make that jump and learn the business and end up at working with Oprah?
Well, long story short, I take a little sabbatical from law school, because after college, I went to law school for a year, and I'm
Just for fun.
just for fun. And I said, you know what, this is what I want to do. I'm working at Victoria's Secret and interning at a production company,
Yeah.
so I can learn the ins and outs. And then from there, ended up landing a job as a junior executive at VH1, so I'm skipping a lot.
Yeah.
And here at VH1, I'm learning how to be a buyer, what buyers want, you know, how they think. And then from there, produce 7 to 8 years for various networks.
Yeah.
And then there, really my star just began to rise. Went through a period of time where, obviously, when the recession hit and everyone sort of lost their shirts in the marketplace, I was one of those.
Yeah, millions.
Yeah.
So
And
there's a big
so
group.
I call it a spiritual timeout where I had to sort of reassess why I was doing what I was doing. Because at the time, I sort of veered from, let me be of service to how do I keep the car? How do I keep the house? How do I keep
How
the
do I
title?
move up to the
how
next
do I keep
title?
moving to the
Yeah.
next? And I was so grateful for that adversity because I could be,
It was humbling.
reevaluating, where I was and why.
Yes.
The why me question.
Yes.
And really started to get back to the root of why I started the journey.
Yes.
And it's, okay, so how do I be of service? And I took all of my resources and my gifts and my talents, reached out to other producers to say, how can we partner? How can we develop projects that we believe in? And started my own consulting firm. And everything sort of blossomed from there. And at the time, OWN was just launching and having a few growing pains. And I said, well, how can I be of service? And reached out to a friend who worked there and said, I have this consulting firm. What can I do to help? Because I believe in the vision. I believe in inspiring, people to live their best life through entertainment, right in line with what I wanted to do and be. And they were like, well, we need someone full time. That was a huge,
Wow.
thing I had to decide to do, was to sort of phase out my consulting.
Wait a minute. Go work for Oprah Winfrey full time as a VP of programming. Really, was that a hard decision?
Well, it's funny. I know it's funny to think of it in retrospect, but in the moment, you're like, wow, I
just started the company.
it was like started the company. I finally had an opportunity to have more time with my children and my husband.
Right.
And,
So it was a big
there was a little
commitment.
freedom with that.
Yeah.
But it was for a bigger purpose.
Oh my gosh.
So
yes.
who knew? And what's so interesting, Catherine, is I never went with the idea of, I want to impress Miss Winfrey, or I just want to, be in her presence and meet. No, it was, I believe in her vision. I want to be of service.
Yes.
And that's where I always talk about the difference between a dream and a wildest dream.
Right.
Right? Because my dream as a kid was I would love to meet her one day.
Yes.
Right? But because I was in a different place in my life,
Yeah.
meeting her would have been great, but that wasn't my sole drive in my purpose.
And it just happened as a result of it.
Exactly.
But it wasn't your intention.
It wasn't my intention.
Yeah.
So being there and being a part of the vision was a dream come true.
How exciting.
But the wildest dream part
Yeah.
is when I found myself at a conference room table and we're talking about ideas for her and her vision for the network, and she's asking me, what do you think?
Oh my gosh.
That's
about as good as it gets.
Is a
Endyia.
wildest dream.
That
you know,
is.
and I talk about how your wildest dream is when your passion and your purpose meet.
Yes.
And that in that moment was where my passion and
Yeah.
my purpose met. I was purposed to be of service with my gifts, and that was my passion. And there it goes, all coming together
Right.
with someone who I admired and adored and just was humbled by the fact that she thought enough to even say, what are your thoughts?
Right.
You know, that
Respect
is
your
respect
opinion.
my opinion.
Yeah.
It was a gift.
That's a
It was really
beautiful
a gift.
thing. You know, so many people out there, I think they struggle with how do I live my life's purpose, and you know, how do I do that? And you're like living proof that, you know, if you just figure out what is my gift, and your gift basically is something you really love to do, that you're
Right.
really good at, and how do you use it for your purpose? And that would just mean what you feel like your calling is. Like, how do you use that for the greater good?
you find
and
it?
the rest falls into place, right? The money follows. That really is a
does.
true statement. People don't always understand that concept, but it really is true. If you do what you really are passionate about, you're good at, and that, like you said, you're there to serve other people with that. Whether it's music or acting or writing a book or speaking or starting a business or, you know, getting a download for a product or whatever it is, but listening to our insides.
Absolutely.
Do you meditate?
You know, I do. I pray every morning. I
Me
get
too.
real clear about, okay, what is my daily purpose? Like,
Yeah.
I have a bigger goal, bigger ideas, but okay, what's the daily goal for today?
Right.
Like, and it's so interesting because there are times where I'll get like a a scripture or a poem that comes to me, or a thought or a word that then plays out in my day.
Yeah.
Whether it's, I thought of this, and I meet somebody who may be in a space and they needed that.
Right.
I
think it just happened in our green room.
It did, actually. I just did that with
That's
someone
amazing.
just a few
That's
minutes ago.
amazing, yeah.
And again, it's always being open
And
to hearing
present.
and present to hearing, how can I be of service? How can I be of service? That is my daily prayer, honestly.
And setting the intention for the day, don't you think?
That is it.
That it's going to be a meaningful, amazing, thought-provoking day.
Absolutely. And the days that I don't do that and craziness comes, I get all anxious and worried and stressed. And so there's a very clear difference between when I do it and when I don't.
Yeah, I totally relate to that. Starting that day with the meditation, the peace that you allow those downloads to come of what you're supposed to be doing that day, who you're meant to talk to and what you're meant to do and who you're meant to help.
Now, there's something that I wanted to go back to people who are listening and watching. I just feel that a lot of you may be feeling like, well, I don't know what my gifts are. Like, I used to want to do this, but I don't know, I'm not that good. You would be surprised. Whatever that thing is that you wanted to do when you were a kid, and maybe somewhere along the way someone said you're not good at it or you can't, you made a conscious effort to turn that off. I want to encourage you and empower you to turn it back on.
I love that.
Because it's interesting how we allow other people's opinion of us or other people's issues to come upon us to dwarf our ability to grow and thrive in what we know in our hearts we're really good at and we want to do.
Yeah.
And so
what makes
I just
our hearts sing.
Yeah, I encourage you to do that. And again, be really clear, because sometimes, again, our dreams and our passions sometimes are tainted and perverted because we're looking at someone else's success.
Right.
I want you to erase that. I want you to put that out of your mind. Clean slate.
Yeah.
What is it that you know that you could do in your sleep?
Yeah.
That you could do for free if you could. Maybe you're gifted with organization.
Yeah.
And you start out by just organizing people's closets and turning it into a business.
Yeah.
Organizing your drawers and showing other people, oh my God, look at my space. Is it something that you like that I can do to help?
Yeah.
That's how you work in your purpose.
Yeah.
That's how you work in your gifts. And from that, you're already successful because you are meeting your passion with your purpose.
And I always say it's basically about doing what you love.
Yes.
Do more of what you love. And those things that you don't like doing, I know I try to find people that love doing those things. That's their gift. And I think that's what it's all about is finding people to do the things you don't like to do because that's their gift. It makes them happy.
Right.
And then and it frees up more of your time to do what you love. So I think that's really great advice.
Thank you.
I just wanted to end with, I think it's so important, and most of the women I have on, like yourself, that are successful are giving back and paying it forward. And I know your passion is to help children to eliminate hunger and also child trafficking.
Yes.
Yeah, and so I applaud that you are involved with organizations that do that. I don't know if you want to promote any of those.
Yeah,
but
Zoe Ministries. I love Children's Hunger Fund. Both are extremely amazing organizations that we are partners with. I even know someone on the ground at Zoe Ministries who help to pull in children, teens, babies who are being trafficked in Thailand and bringing them into homes, a huge
Saving them
orphanage,
from
saving
that.
them from that.
And what
just giving them a
organization
new
is
life.
that?
That's the Zoe Ministry.
Oh, wonderful work they're doing.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So I encourage you, if not those organizations, finding an organization that you can really get behind and be a part of is super important.
I think that is also everyone's purpose on this planet
Absolutely.
is to give back in some capacity to something that they feel passionate about. So it's your gift, like for you, television producing, but also and creating quality programming that makes a difference. But then also giving back in that capacity. So I applaud you for that, and I'm glad you brought that to our attention.
Thank you.
I'm so grateful to have you on the show today. You, like I said, you're a bright light and giving back to the world in such an amazing way and encouraging other women to do the same. And I love that. And I just want to know if women are out there wanting, I know you help create programming for networks and television. And is there some advice you have to women producers, since that's your niche and your expertise?
For sure. This is what I say. If you have an idea that you are passionate about, that you feel like, oh my gosh, this would be great, what I would suggest you do is do your research, do your homework. A lot of times we have these things called passion projects, right? Where, you know, it's your passion, it's something that you love, that you feel like everybody wants. Unfortunately, sometimes your passion is just that, your passion, and a lot of linear networks, meaning networks that are on broadcast television, not necessarily digital networks, are a little bit more filtered in what they want to do because they have an audience that they have to speak to. Don't let that keep you from pursuing what it is your passion is. There are other outlets on digital platforms that you can engage with, but I always say do your homework and think about partnering with a production company that has the same ideas that are similar to what you have, that sort of work in the same space that you work in, that you could partner with, because they know what's been out there, they know the landscape and what the appetite is for that particular programming, from digital to linear. So don't do it on your own. You can definitely reach out to those production companies.
I love that advice. And would you say that the landscape is changing, that there will be more demand for women writers, directors, content? I feel like we need more of that, don't you?
Absolutely. There's definitely a shift.
Good.
There's definitely a shift, because there, you know, even broadcast networks are realizing that there's an audience that they're missing, and a voice that they're missing.
Yeah.
And in order to get that voice, you got to put the voice behind the scenes.
Yes, we need more women, more minorities,
Yes.
and more diversity that we see on the planet in the programming of Hollywood movies and television. I think it's been decision makers that are mostly white males, and it's nice to see if we could shift that to have more more equal distribution at the table. And I think
it's
we're on that
happening.
way.
It absolutely is
and
happening.
Thanks to people like yourself
Well,
that are in that
thank you.
niche.
Yes, thank you so much. I'm really honored. Catherine, thank you for having me.
You're welcome. Well, thanks so much, Endyia, for being on. And we'll be back next week, of course, with other amazing women that are making a big difference in the world. At 360 Karma, we believe you create your fate, and we try to give you the resources and the contacts to do that. So thanks for tuning in. We'll see you next week. Hugs and happiness.
Thank you.